Welcome back to this Credit Control 101 series. This is part 2. Thank you for being here. If you've joined the series here, then please go back and watch part 1. These videos are made in order for a very specific reason, so please go and watch part 1 and come back to part 2. If you've watched part 1 already, then thank you for coming back. Let's get started. So the whole credit control process, I've split it into 2 areas. The first is agreeing credit, which we'll go through in this video. This includes things like credit applications, credit limits, that sort of thing, credit approval letters. All will be explained as the video goes on. The second area, which we covered in the next video, is managing credit. That'll be things like chasing customers for payment, managing customer accounts. So let's get started with agreeing credit, and we'll look at credit applications to start off with. Now, in this presentation, there are going to be a couple of templates that I'm going to share with you. If you would like these templates, then just wait to the end of the video and I'll show you how to get them. Now, it's great to have some sort of template as a credit application, so a credit application template. It's so great to have one for so many reasons. The first is it's just going to save you a lot of time. So if you have something you can just print off when a customer is applying for credit, that is so much easier and saves so much more time than drafting an application every time you need one. It just makes total sense to have a template you can print off easily and give to your customer. But it's also good for a number of other reasons, such as it provides a much more professional image for the company. If you have some sort of template that you use every time, it can make the whole admin side of the business very uniform because all the customers will be completing the same credit application, so everything is just uniform and much more organized. If you have a template, then you can ensure that nothing is missed. The template will cover everything you need to know from the customer who is applying for credit. Nothing will be missed. It's the same template every single time. And then just from an admin view, the more documentation you have, and also from a legal view, the more documentation you have, the better. So if you have a credit application from the customer, then that is just fantastic. Okay, so let me just run through what the template should include, what the credit application should include. It should include all the business contact details. That's your details, the business details, but also the customer's details. You'll need to know the directors of the company name, the company address, email address, phone number. The more contact details, the better. Also, request the contact details for the person to invoice and chase. You're going to need this at a later time anyway, when you invoice the customer or chase them for payment. So it just makes sense to get everything you need from the beginning, then it's there for you when you need it. Trade references, there should be an area on the credit application where the customer applying for credit can fill in trade references. These are suppliers the customer is using that already give the customer credit. And then with all of this information, you can create an account for the customer, you know who to chase, but you can also do a credit reference. With a credit reference, you can use third-party software to see if the business is financially worthy enough to receive credit. This credit reference could save you a lot of time and a lot of money. If you give credit to bad credit customers, you could potentially run up some bad debts. So a credit reference is ideal. Performing a credit reference for all new customers who apply for credit is a great habit to be in. And also some sort of disclaimer on the application just to say that you're going to keep the information provided and do a credit reference on them. Now, I'll say this a number of times in this series, and that is, no matter what procedures and applications and templates you have in place, they might be the best in the world. It doesn't really matter if you don't follow them. So if you are going to have credit applications, make sure every single customer, that's 100% of the customers who want credit, use the credit application. And that's the same for credit limits and for credit control policies and everything else. Make sure everything's adhered to. There's no point having it in place if it's not going to be followed. Okay, so let's have a look at a credit application template. So this is a bog standard template. It's on Microsoft Word. So if you would like this, I can just send it over to you and you can edit things. There is space for the customer to fill in their details, their business details, payment information. So this is the person who's going to make payment, their name, their address, the payment method that the customer is going to use. It's great for them to complete that, because if they pay by check and you don't want them to pay by check, then you can bring this up with them when you review the credit application. Requested credit limit, they can put in a request for credit limit. We'll come back to this a bit later on in this video. There's a space for trade references and the disclaimer. There are some empty boxes here for additional items you may want to include on the application. It's pretty box standard, but it has everything that you need. So at the end of the video, I'll show you how to get this application. But this is just an example of what a credit application should look like and the information that it should include. And obviously at the bottom, there's space for the customer to sign and date the application form. So that's credit applications. If you have any questions about that, then just leave something in the comment section below or drop me an email. So let's move on to credit approval. So if everything checks out on the credit application and you're going to offer the customer credit, then you can send them a credit approval letter or credit approval form. Once again, it's great to have some sort of template in place. It provides a professional image. It saves you a lot of time and hassle. Everything is uniform. It's documentation. Same reasons as mentioned before. Now, the template should include, or not the template, I need to stop saying that. The credit approval letter should include confirmation of the approval, the credit limit amount that you're going to offer the customer, and the date of approval. You can also include things like payment terms and other items you want to tell the customer. So you want to tell them we take back some credit card payments only, or our terms are 15 days, or blah blah blah, welcome to the family business, or whatever it is. You can include that on the credit approval letter. This is a great way to have some sort of interaction with your customer to confirm everything and just ensure everything is accurate and in place. So let me bring up a credit approval letter. So this is a bog standard credit approval letter. It's quite blank, the reason being it's meant to be printed on company letterhead. If you don't have company letterhead, then feel free to add logos, that sort of thing. This is Microsoft Word, so it's pretty easy to edit and change. Basically, you have the details of the customer, the date, the customer's name. We're pleased to inform you you've been accepted for credit, etc. Your account number is this. Please put that on all payments, so we know it's you who's making the payment. The credit limit we're offering you is this. These are our payment terms. Welcome to the family. Blah, blah, blah. So you can have a read through this. I can send you the template and you can have a read through. But it just acts as more confirmation and another way to communicate with your customer, just to make sure they are aware of everything. And it provides a very professional image for the business. Okay, so we've gone through credit approval letters and credit applications. Let's move on to setting credit limits. Now, it's so important that credit limits are set because credit limits provide a safe amount of credit per customer credit limits create like a safety net for debt. In business, cash is king. Cash is king in business. You have to have sufficient cash in order to survive in the business world. And all these things, credit applications, credit approval letters, setting credit limits, can help protect cash and ensure that the business is not overexposed to debt. Without credit limits, customers could ramp up debts into thousands, hundreds of thousands, and potentially ruin your business. So it's important to have credit limits in place. I've said this before, and I'll say it many times before this series is over. Ensure that you do these things. You might have the best credit limit procedure or policy in place, but if it's not followed, it's not going to result in anything positive. So make sure credit limits are set. One of the great things about credit limits is some customers will max out their credit before making a payment. So as credit limits are reached, it's a great time to request payment, because generally you will not do any business with the customer if they've reached their credit limit. It's sort of the ceiling on their account. Now, there's a few ways to set credit limits to decide what the amount should be. The first is to use some sort of software. As mentioned earlier with credit referencing, some of this software also provides a suggested credit limit for the customer. So you can take that into consideration or use that. Another thing to consider when setting credit limits for customers is the turnover the customer will provide. So if you're expecting the customer to perhaps buy £5,000 or $5,000, 5,000 euros worth of goods or services in a month, then giving them a £1,000, $1,000, €1,000 credit limit just makes no sense. Usually credit limits are set just above the customer's monthly turnover or expected turnover. So if they are going to do about £5,000 worth of business in a month, then the credit limit might be 5,500 or 6,000 at a push. Something else to consider when setting credit limits is what you personally are willing to offer. There is no guarantee that customers will pay their debts in time or in full. So ensure that credit applications are done, credit referencing is done, that everything is followed, because all of these things will help protect and minimize debt. Hopefully this video has helped. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. You can watch this series for free, as well as lots of other series all about finance, bookkeeping and accounting at my website, freebookkeepingaccounting.com. I am the Bookkeeping Master, and I will speak to you in the next and final video of this series.